match is prepared, like you mentioned. Mulligan screen, so let's hop into it and see what these guys have prepared. Freshca is a pretty unique deck builder, by the way. You've seen Kaldi in tournaments like DreamHack, but the last time we've seen Freshca was, in fact, the first edition of this cup in Prismata 1, where he made a pretty good run with his Swiss round as well. So Freshca's back here and trying to make a decent run, and these games are live. They're not pre-recorded, so keep in mind that the stream does have a delay on it, guys.
So it looks like both players are starting off with a Flame Whip and a Dream, trying to skillfully earn wins by clicking on Soulfire and aiming it at the opponent's face around turn 7 or 8. I've been seeing mostly Handlock lately, which I'm excited to see some Zoo, honestly, and really surprised that it's a mirror match. Maybe in this kind of format, a deck like Zoo that's, maybe 55% against the field overall is a good opener because, you don't really have any awful matchups, but you do have some good ones. You're starting to see a lot of big game Hunters and Black Knights in tournaments with bans because once you're banning Hunter out, you're starting to see a lot of slow decks. So you're seeing cards like Faceless Manipulator, Big Game Hunter try to go over the top. And here we see faster decks. I don't think Prismata is incorporating a ban system, right?
Not as far as I recall. So Zoo versus Zoo it is. Now, a lot of times, the player who does start off with the coin is in a huge favor because you can get out those early game drops much sooner. But there are ways to seize it back if you can get things like Soulfire, and a lot of times it does kind of snowball to the point where the person who does get at the more board control early on just seizes the tempo and never lets it go. So this is going to be a little tricky for Freshca, unless he's able to pull it back with some pretty nice draws.
He's opting to play the Chow here rather than save the coin and go for a Voidwalker Chow next turn. It's going to allow Freshca to trade off here, gain some of that life back off of Flame Imp, and life is actually a very important resource in this matchup because early game board control is important, but only because it gives you a life advantage. Once you're ahead by 10 or 15 life points in a Zoom mirror, in the mid game it means that you're the one that's going to be attacking face while your opponent's attacking creatures to catch up, and that'll just give you more life taps when it comes down to the later turns and makes cards like Doomguard just end the game on the spot.
Yeah, and that will definitely be a factor. But in the meantime, this is kind of like what you mentioned, an opportunity to just kind of compound the board from which Kaldi has the lead from early on. And that's where Soulfire really does come into play. Now, it's interesting that Void Terror is being here in Freshca's list. I thought that card has been rotated out of Zoo decks, I guess with the Nerubian Egg in tandem, but it seems like it's still pretty strong here, and he's opting to go for it. Do you still like Void Terror in Zoo decks, honestly?
I mean, it's not terrible. It's hard to go wrong when you're building Zoo, honestly. I don't think that any card choice in the deck is going to be extremely terrible or great in most cases. Void Terror is good sometimes. Sometimes it's not so good. I mean, I've never actually had it just rot in my hand, so it's definitely a fine card. I prefer to just fill out the curve with more consistent cards, though. The more interesting thing to me here is that I believe Freshca is playing Undertaker without Zombie Chow or Leper Node, so he has no one-mana Death Rattle creature.
Dang, back-to-back snipes here from the Knife Juggler on the 1/1s.
2-mana Ragnaros.
2-mana Ragnaros, yeah. Gosh.
Gotta feel good if you're Freshca. Or, I mean, Kaldi. Okay, so Power Overwhelming is the only copy. This is what I mean here. It's not exciting, but it's pretty solid. Zoo doesn't tend to play Iron Becal or Big Game Hunter, so a giant Void Terror is pretty effective. The problem is that Void Caller, or the Void Walker, though. It's gonna eat a 9 damage attack if Freshca doesn't manage to draw a Soulfire or a Doomguard. So those are the cards he definitely wants to see next turn.
Alright, well, there's ways to stack damage too. Keeping the Knife Juggler alive is so clutch, especially if he has another one as well. You can really start pushing out the damage. And like you mentioned, this 1/3 absorbing it is effectively like a 1/9. This is a similar case where you see Miracle Rogue sometimes gets a huge Van Cleef, but then the small taunts end up making the Van Cleef pretty ineffective for a couple turns, and then Zoo can still push out board control and damage.
Yeah, exactly. It's that's a good point though. Van Cleef's a good parallel to this because Van Cleef, when it's in your opening hand, makes it almost impossible to lose his Miracle. Because Zoo, yes, it can soak up damage for a couple turns with taunts, but eventually it just runs out of creatures, and that Van Cleef, if it connects once, you're just dead to Leroy. In this case, Zoo doesn't actually have as much burst as Miracle, so taking damage to the face isn't as scary for Kaldi, but nevertheless, Zoo doesn't really have a good answer for just a large early game creature most of the time. So now that I said that, he drew his one Iron Beak Owl, which
Ooh.
is a cool card choice.
Yeah, it's the Void Terror player that has the Iron Beak, though, not Kaldi. In fact, he has
Yeah.
other interesting inclusions like the Echoing Ooze and just other ways to fill up the board immediately, which seems to be the priority nowadays. Now, these double juggles can be really clutch if it hits a couple of these important targets, whether sniping the Knife Juggler or being able to kill off the Iron Beak Owl, perhaps even
He,
both.
he really wanted to draw a 2-drop this turn or a 1-drop just to get the extra double juggle. So that Shattered Sun Cleric is not what he wants to see. Let's see if it's not what he. Okay, this could have been worse. And now you're in this position where, what do you do with the Knife Juggler? You have to go face. You can't trade because Iron Beak Owl is going to trade with the 3/2 Juggler anyway. Yeah. Alright, so Freshca here is just going to go face. I mean, this Void Terror, he was pretty far behind in the early game. I don't know if there's any other card that could have put him in the game like this card has. He's going
Can't
to.
put
Oh
up
my
those
god, that's
dominant
such a huge
creatures.
life total lead.
Oh
That's
my
insane.
goodness. 11 damage, and he's still yet to tap into some of the other more powerful creatures, like you mentioned, the Doomguard, which can seal it. And he still has yet to hit Soulfires, and he's top decking, so he's not going to have any inefficiencies of discard.
Kaldi needed to see a Defender of Argus like this turn. That's what he wanted. Alright,
Oh
so
man. Juggle's out of orders here, so that way he couldn't get the trades, but now he finally kills it off.
no, okay. So he's behind on life. Whoa, I would have gone face there. I think it's an attack Freshca would have made either way.
And Knife Juggler does have this sense of taunt on it because of how much damage it puts out, so you can leverage that and take do 3 more damage to the face often.
Absolutely. Nerubian Egg is not exactly what you want to see. I would have liked to see him put it next to the 2/1 damage golem because that's what you would rather Defender of Argus.
Wow.
But we'll see
Nice.
if. Oh wow, yeah, that Soulfire draw is fantastic. Like Nerubian Egg is not what you want to see on turn 6 because then you have to draw an enabler to make it do anything. This is looking very good for Kaldi at the moment. Harvest Golem is just the amount of damage it takes to remove it basically means that Harvest Golem is unkillable in the Zoo Mirror because most of the time it just makes more sense to attack face rather than commit 4 damage to a Harvest Golem in the mid game.
Well, it's starting to come down to the wire of Soulfire top decks. A Doomguard draw for Kaldi. Oh my goodness.
Is that card good?
I think it's excellent.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Doomguard is pretty gross. I would attack the Doomguard into that, I think. And then just go face with the other. Oh, no, I guess he is pretty low. Okay, I see the thinking here. You want to attack both the golems into the Nerubian Egg and then run Doomguard into the spider. Because, Kaldi here doesn't want to die to Doomguard from Freshca off the top.
Or anything, really. Another Soulfire, he'd only be short 3 damage because he has 6 on board.
Was Freshca the one that double Soulfired, or was Kaldi?
No, both of them only drew 1 Soulfire, so the other ones are still alive, as far as we're concerned.
Oh, right. Yeah, it was one each.
Yeah. It was back-to-back Soulfires. Freshca
Playing
draws.
very quickly, so yeah, the perspective's switching a lot back and forth.
Nah, that's just what Zoo is.
I like the trade there. Oh, Flame Imp, that is the worst.
Yo, man, that is really tough.
Yeah, you have to life tap and draw Defender, I think. You could try to play passively and just run both creatures into Dwarf and then play Nerubian, but you're going to take 2 damage to see your next card either way, so you might as well pay the mana now to do it.
Oh
There
my
you go.
goodness. Defender of Argus, and he has the Nerubian to make it relevant and active as well.
So now you trade both creatures into Dwarf, play Nerubian afterwards, and then Defender your 2 creatures, and then you have nothing on board that dies to his Harvest Golem. And all of a sudden, you're in great shape this game. I don't love this. Wait, is this just strictly better? No, it's not. This leaves Dwarf alive. This is one
Yeah.
way to do it, I guess.
Freshca still is looking for a Soulfire to potentially end the game, but he doesn't get it. Now this is really awkward because his opponent can be on like another Doomguard draw, and he still has the ability to tap, where oftentimes that tap does make the difference.
Yep, just needs 4 damage here. Okay, he can life tap into any 2 damage buff, and he has lethal. Soulfire or Doomguard also still do it. There's no difference between being at 4 life or 2 life if you're Kaldi here, so he's definitely going to life tap. That's game.
Ah, the 2 damage
Actually,
it
no,
is.
it's not. No, it's not. Because you can't get all the buffs. Oh, no, you can. You can. You dwarf between the left 2 creatures. Because it's kind of awkward sometimes to Defender and Wolf because you can't get
Yeah, yeah.
the full value out of both. But in this case, he can position them, so he has lethal, I think.
Yeah, you should. Just between either of the 2 targets that isn't Flame Imp, and then, of course, just pair it up with the Direwolf Alpha, make sure it gets that +2. And that should be 9 damage if Kaldi's counted correctly. He's just going through the math once again in his head.
It's so rare that you see Zoo games that are close like this. Like, a lot of times, whoever gets the board lead by, like, turn 4 just snowballs and runs away with the game in these mirror matches. But it's a very cool scenario where Void Terror put Freshca into position to be able to win the game. And then the draws for Kaldi were just a lot more effective off the top.
2 life to 0 life. That's pretty much as close as it gets. And keep in mind that Freshca still had the opportunity to end the game at any point if he was able to see Zoo versus Zoo if Freshca and Kaldi both choose to queue up. But it can be completely different. So it seems like Kaldi's going to stick on Zoo and immediately a shift to Paladin for Freshca with Anixia in his deck. What is this?
That's ambitious. It's the neutral scenarios. This matchup really just depends on the Paladin's draw, honestly. Kaldi is on the play, doesn't have coin, but he does have Flame Imp, so pretty good for him. Okay, here we go. Consecration, Double Belcher. It looks like a pretty slow draw. You don't have anything that costs 2 or 3, but these are all the cards you want in the mid game. If he can, he's probably going to be too far behind to not coin Consecration, but if he could curve Belcher into Belcher on turn 4 and 5, that would be so strong. That's not... Oh, that's fine, I guess. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, he's got the 2 death rattles to follow up on curve. And the Flame Imp still is a relevant 3/2 later on.
Whoa, there's no way he's going to coin Hero Power, is there? He's probably just bluffing here that he has a 2-drop. Might as well. No reason to immediately pass the turn and give it away that you don't.
What 2-drops are even that common anymore, though, in the Paladin, other than the Wild Pyromancer to contest it, which easily could get traded off, too, so...
Yeah, that wouldn't be the worst for him. Maybe you could, like, turn 1 Knife Juggler or something like that. I don't know. I tend to play Doomsayer in my Paladin deck, but I guess that's not super common. Okay, Pyro, Coin, Holy Light. I mean, he's got effectively a couple different ways to consecrate here. These creatures are just super resilient against it, though. He wants True Silver Champion here. He needs True Silver Champion here. Or Equality. Okay. So that's a
look
good
at
draw.
that. True Silver Champion gets the 2 for 1. If he can get it, because these death battles do end up becoming a big threat to the point where Defender of Argus gives it so much value because it's able to buff it, and even if you kill off the first body, there's going to be minions spawning after it.
Oh wow, this is not what Kaldi wants to see. All these minions, except for Voidcaller, just died of Consecration, so he has to make the decision, like, do I overextend into that card, or do I let this True Silver just kind of slow me down to the point where Freshca gets time to play more of his mid-game threat? I mean, given that Freshca coined the True Silver and he's going to have 4 mana next turn, I would likely life tap here. Because there aren't many 4-drops the Paladin would want to play besides Consecration. Maybe the occasional Ascension. But he is just going to make the more aggressive play. Hope that Freshca doesn't have it, but he does. That's an interesting choice.
Quality combo. It's going to leave a few minions left.
I guess that's fine. You do this into Consecration. I mean, by doing that, you have no answer to Doomguard anymore, so it's a little sketchy, but Kaldi doesn't have it, so he's probably fine here. Oh, man.
Wow, a Nerubian Egg draw makes him resilient to cards like the Consecration, so the AoE clear, not even guaranteed.
He's going to have to run his face into the 4/4, and This game is looking very good for the Paladin at this point because of that Holy Light. You're going to take some damage this turn, drop pretty low, but then you play Sludge Belcher, and Zoo is mostly locked out of the game at that point.
Yeah, the wall of taunts just becomes really difficult to overpower as the Zoo player. And then after that, you're left trying to top deck to finish off the game when there's so many ways for them to bounce back. Not just Holy Light, but Guardian of Kings, and even when Tyrion, these kinds of cards provide such a longevity to the Paladin that is oftentimes it puts it out of range.
Yep. Go Belcher into Belcher. This card is so gross. Sludge Belcher is just one of the best neutral. It might just be. I don't know. I used to think it was Mad Scientist, but Flare really keeps that card in check. Sludge Belcher is just absurd. Like, in every deck. I played 6 of it in BlizzCon qualifiers in the 3 decks I submitted.
Sounds like the dream scenario if you could play 30 Belchers, maybe. Freshca just chooses not to drop one, by the way. Instead, opts to go for a combination to potentially answer the board while getting card draw, and opts to keep his Belcher in hand. Do you like this play? Do you feel like he can still survive in this scenario? Like, would you take this kind of risk too?
Yeah, there's not much that can kill you. You know, it would have to be like a Doomguard plus a Soulfire or a Soulfire plus a Soulfire, and, you know, either of those cards can interrupt the other from happening, so... I suppose it makes sense, but it feels a little greedy to me. Like, you have so much late game you want to play anyway. I would just go Belcher, Belcher, Kodo, Holy Light.
Alright, well... Freshca now has the opportunity to put his taunts down and get that Holy Light, which is really important. So now he can bounce back up to that 11 health, which is critical. You just want to be above 9 if you ever get the board clear, because the 9 does allow the Soulfire tap into Doomguard combination, which everyone has lost to at some point in their Hearthstone career. And if you haven't been playing more than a month or two, that's for sure. So the Holy Light does go down on Freshca and bounce back up to 11. Important to get that down. So I suppose he wanted to go for this and not only fit the curve better with the Aldor Peacekeeper and the Acolyte of Pain, but now he can go for Sludge Belcher and then Holy Light, and now whatever he can do to respond.
Yeah, this game looks still pretty strong for the Paladin, but I mean, the Zoo's not out of it here. You can... You're really just wanting to draw Doomguard at this point. Chow. I mean, you're going to be able to clear Sludge Belcher here fairly effectively. I guess you just go face with the rest of it.
Yeah, you've got about 5 damage to go beyond this, and you still have like the Nerubian, which your opponent has to push through. Still a pretty scary looking board. It's a full house here, 7 minions.
Yeah, he's considering killing the Aldor Peacekeeper to protect the egg, but I like this play more. Get more damage on the face, just make the Paladin have the clear. Oh, wow.
Wow, Consecration off the top. That's pretty much almost as good as it gets.
Yeah. He needs to kill that zombie Chow.
He certainly can.
Oh, Owl's a fantastic draw too. Just gives him another play this turn. He just needed to be able to do something on this board.
It's basically a +2 life.
Yeah, wow, that Consecration draw was insane. If that was possibly any other card in his deck.
Hold on.
Yeah, you aim that at the face and life tap. For sure.
Yeah, right now he has 4 on board, plus the 4 from Soulfire. He's 3 damage short, which means he does need Doomguard or Soulfire. I don't see another +3 in his deck in any other way.
Yep, he is. Kaldi's not playing Power Overwhelming. Freshca was playing 1. So yeah, he's going to go for it here. And
oh, a big moment of truth. And he gets Echoing Ooze, which isn't it. Yeah. But at least now he's able to clear the board from the Paladin.
I like this play. You want to get him in range of your second Soulfire. He has only played the 1, correct? This game? I think so.
Yes, that was the first one he drew. Yeah, makes total sense too. 4 is effectively same as 2.
See, because he put off playing that Sludge Belcher on that 1 turn, he's basically putting off playing Kodo now. This could be a Kodo turn to help him stabilize a bit more. It was very greedy, I think, to play it the way he did. But, you know, Zoo's not really seeing Doom Guards, so he isn't being punished for it too hard.
Oh, the juggle onto the Sludge Belcher.
Yeah, what a card.
Weakens.
And those 1/2s just it's just not worth making the attack.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is, Tyrion. So.
Wow, Tyrion to seal the game. Unless there's
Oh,
another
no.
Soulfire.
He threw. He needed to go face there, because then you give Zoo one less turn to draw Soulfire.
Well, it doesn't work out. Soulfire is not drawn, and it looks like Kaldi can't push through here.
Yeah, but he's not dead anymore, because he didn't attack face with Sludge Belcher, so now Freshca doesn't have lethal anymore. So Kaldi's going to have one extra draw to hit Soulfire.
Well, assuming Freshca doesn't have the damage immediately, but I believe you're right.
Oh, goody.
This is this. I mean, it's obviously not great for the Zoo deck, but you know there is a chance it wins at this point. Oh wow, he's gonna. It's just fine, I guess. It's not too bad.
You gotta hold the Zombie Chow too, not to give your opponent any ability to gain life. Oh, double Kodo. And trade down. Well, I think you do put him down to 2 life, though. Definitely don't give him the ability to tap anymore.
Wow. It's just, I don't know, it's just a classic mistake of playing too defensively with your control deck. Oh, Kaldi looks happy. Is there justice in the world? Yeah, there is.
Oh, Soulfire directly to the face to end it, but you know what? Just like you said, Freshca gave him that window of opportunity.
Freshca
and it ended up costing him. Wow.
He made throws, but it depends. They both have advantages and disadvantages.
All right, and with that, let's go into game 3 and see if Kaldi can continue the streak, if he's going to use the Warlock deck once again, or he's going to switch it up, and he does. So he keeps Zoo in his back pocket, which he can bring later in the tournament. And in the meantime, he's going to go to Warrior. Now, interesting card already off the bat. We see Gorehowl being mixed into the Warrior class, and I feel like some Warriors are starting to experiment with it. We've seen Firebat try to put Gorehowl back, but this was a card that was replaced when Deathbite first came out because what Deathbite was able to do with less mana and still kind of have the same effect. What's your opinion on Gorehowl nowadays here, Raynan?
Gorehowl is a very different card from Deathbite. Like, Deathbite is a card that gets you mid-game board control, whereas Gorehowl is just a win condition, like Ragnaros or Alexstrasza, in that it just locks your opponent out of the game in certain matchups. Big fan of the turn 1 Squelch. From Kaldi, I misplay that a lot on ladder and end up making myself frustrated later on when I'm getting BM'd. But yeah, in terms of Gorehowl, it's the reason you started to see it fall off in popularity was because of Hunter. In matchups like Hunter, you just can't afford to take the damage to your face, and the card is just completely dead. But in other matchups, like against Shaman, for example, it's pretty much your best card. It's also good in the mirror, so. Might start
Also, when Hunters are being cycled out, then Gorehowl will come back more in popularity then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I actually ended up playing it myself in my show match against Tides in my Warrior deck. Because we got to ban.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch that. How'd that go for you?
It was like we had to play all 9 classes. Tides ended up winning 5-4. It was pretty cool games. Got to see some decks we don't usually get to see.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Paladin aggro.
Preview of the
I think they streamed it yesterday over at Via Game. Those guys do good stuff for Hearthstone.
Yeah, check out their Via Game qualifiers and tournament in October for sure. Now, it's interesting to note that we haven't touched upon this just yet, but it looks like that Freshca has 4-drop with Violet Teacher here as his card of choice instead of maybe the Gnomish Inventors or even the Sentient Shield Master. What do you think about Violet Teacher being included here?
I mean, it's a card you see occasionally in rogue decks. The word I like to use for cards like that is just cute. They're not exactly good, but they're there for the sake of being different. I'm not a big fan of it personally because it needs to be exactly... The reason it's bad is because it needs to be like in your opening hand, right? So you need to play it on turn 4, because if you're drawing it on turn 7 or 8, you're just not going to have the time to play it or do anything with it. Whereas a card like Gnomish Inventor will get you an extra draw on those later turns towards a card like a Sap that you might need. So yeah, Violet Teacher, it can be strong on turn 4, but it's also weak to Hunter. I mean, it's not It's not terrible. It's a preference thing, but I'm not a fan personally. I'm very picky when it comes to card choices, though, I guess. Um,
Oh,
well, it
by
looks
the way,
like
it is important to note. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Senjin's becoming way more popular lately in warrior decks, and it's just putting in so much work here.
Kaldi almost actually killed off the engine by accident by using Cruel Taskmaster beforehand. I just wanted to slip in here that we got word from the admins. Leroy and Buzzard has been banned for this tournament, so you might also be confused as to why even if Hunter was available for choice, why no one picked it. It
Yeah,
is
that makes
because
sense.
Buzzard was banned, and then you see no Leroy in the Rogue deck, and
I'd
Freshca
still play
seems to be
Hunter.
more of a board centric, and because of that ban, he can't use Leroy as a card.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. I wonder if Miracle Rogue is still a strong deck. Like instead of Shadow Steps, it looks like he's just playing, more creatures, Cold Bloods, get the damage through the fairway. The Warrior just has such a sick board, though. I mean, double Senjin is a fantastic draw. Tough to come back from.
Well, he can
Oh,
start the
there you
chain
go.
draws to get sap.
That's
Wow.
exactly the card he needed. Wow, he's not gonna. This makes no sense to me. You have to. I guess you don't have to. I see the thinking. Okay, that's fair. But he should attack with the Gadgetson into the 2/2, I think, because Sylvanas is going to kill Gadgetson. So do you
Now,
copy Sylvanas here? Or maybe... That's a lot of options.
yeah, you can copy Sylvanas, trade her off, steal a minion, and you still have another Sylvanas, by the way.
Let none survive.
You can even push for damage like what Kaldi's doing.
If
And
he
go for a
wants
brawl
that damage,
play.
then I really hope he doesn't brawl here. Oh my god, why? He could have just cleared the board and been I mean, this does the same thing. I guess.
Well, I mean, when you just clear off the board anyway and keep Sylvanas alive, it's a 5 damage sweep on the opponent's board. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. You get damage on, so you're getting your opponent closer to Grommash range. It's definitely a card he's
Not
looking to draw
bad.
before.
Not bad. That was a 5-mana flame strike. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. He could be ahead on board more, though, couldn't he? Couldn't he have, like, killed the board and had a... I guess it's, like, the same outcome.
So many.
Okay.
Yeah, he would have left up. Well, it's a coin flip, right? Because after he faceless and trades into Gadget and uses Cruel Taskmaster, he could leave up like the 1/1 and 3/3, does some stuff to the board. This way, at least it gets a guaranteed clear if you're Kaldi controlling the RNG. That is.
That's true.
Pay attention, class.
Violet Teacher, okay. This makes more sense now as a card choice. He doesn't have Leroy in his deck. He's just kind of wants another win condition.
Yeah. It's also got a sprint. Interesting inclusion. Like
Oh
Gadget
my.
Sand prep sprint on like turn 8.
Oh, it's a double Violet Teacher. That's more of like a... That's a pretty cool deck, actually. It's like Control Rogue with just... like a Control Rogue, Tempo Rogue hybrid.
Yeah. All right. Well, back over in Kaldi land. He's got ways to clear the board too here. But he also keeps in mind that Leroy is banned. So with the fact that this rogue is more board centric, how do you think it stacks against a deck like this? Because Warrior beforehand was still giving Miracle trouble with his life gain capabilities. Do you feel like it's even more of a problem now that you don't have Leroy as a potential win condition?
I mean, it probably makes the matchup better for Rogue, if anything. It's probably still difficult, but you have like resilient threats that can deal recursive damage now, rather than being all in on the Leroy combo. Because the reason Warrior could win so many games against Rogue before was sometimes you would just get into a situation where you wouldn't have the damage left to kill them because you were so reliant on that Leroy burst. But now the damage that the Rogue can deal is potentially limitless.
Oh man, the chain draws are starting. He's got double Cold Blood too.
Yeah.
Shade of Naxxramas, and another inclusion to be more of that board centric. And he's got Conceal.
God.
His opponent used already used the Brawl. This is bad news for Kaldi here, Ray.
There you go. No more Brawl in the deck. It should be game, I think. That's... Oh man, that was
my
such a sick
goodness.
draw.
Wow. 13 damage, waiting just with the minions on board, +3 on the deadly poison charge. Kaldi's in big trouble here.
He does have unstable duel, but I believe Freshca has a sap. Could you... Let's see, there's no way to kill your own. Yeah, this is just not what you want to see if you're Kaldi. I think what you have to do here is... Okay, what you do is you unstable ghoul and you copy unstable ghoul and armor up. And you hope to just draw Gromosh. If he's greedy, he could shield block armor and then unstable ghoul and hope that Freshca doesn't have the sap. But I would do this. Copy that, armor up.
Gives himself 2 chances.
Yeah, you're at least not taking the 9. It's just... Like, honestly, the warrior can afford to take some damage against this rogue deck. It doesn't have as much burst as traditional Miracle Rogue.
Yeah, that's for certain. There's no charters. It's just solely the minions on board, and then you Cold Bloods are supposed to compensate for some of this damage. I actually lost to this deck earlier today. I saw a dog playing it, and he 30-0'd me. I was playing Priest because he just had the gadget stand there under Conceal, and then the double Cold Blood with like an insane Viscerate plus double Deadly Poison and Blade Flurry. So it still has the burst potential, but it does require a lot more setup.
Yeah, it's interesting that Freshca is attacking here to get the 1 extra point of damage next turn, when he still has a Blade Flurry in his like 5-card deck, or however many cards there are there. This is the issue though with playing those mid-rangey creatures like Shade of Naxxramas and Violet Teacher in your Miracle deck. In your Miracle deck, when your Gadgetzin goes off, you end up drawing through most of your deck, and you don't want to be playing 3 drops on turn 10 that take a full turn to do anything. So this is why, yes, if you draw your cards in the right order, and your Shade of Naxxramas and Violet Teachers are in your opening hand, and you develop them on board early, then yeah, your deck plays very smoothly. But when you Gadgetzin and you're using removal in the early game, the cards you're drawing in the late game, rather than just killing your opponent like Leroy Combo or Sinister Strikes would, now they're these mid-rangey creatures. So the warrior deck's going to have more time to sort of deal with what the rogue is doing. Doesn't really matter though, because, you know, Lotheb kind of locks him out of the game here, but, you know, it's something that could have come up.
Yeah, this Lotheb costing 5 more mana is such a headache to Kaldi because he can't do anything other than execute and pass. Now, the good news is there is no Leroy, but there is 8 damage, and we know that Freshca can now load up the board once more.
It's worth noting, Kaldi drew the literal worst card in his deck. If he drew any card in his deck that wasn't like the Cairn, or that wasn't the Cairn or Black Knight, he would have had a much smoother play that turn. I suppose the spell would have been more awkward, but I don't know, my mistake. Ysera was worse. Okay, there are 3 cards he didn't want to draw, and he drew them back to back. That is actually pretty unlucky. That could have been a Sludge Belcher, a spell, a Deathbite, a Gromosh. Like,
well, Gromosh is the card he's looking for. He does have the cool Taskmaster in hand. He's been sitting on this for a while.
Is there any way he could live this turn?
So he's at 15. His opponent has...
His opponent has 18.
Yeah.
So that's... Looks like it's game. I mean, I don't see a way to survive here.
He's got 18 through just what's right here, so Kaldi is going to concede, and Freshca will get on the board with his Control Miracle Tempo Rogue. I don't know what to call this, but I have seen it before.
Yeah, it's just Miracle Rogue, dude.
Yeah, game 4, pretty much the midway point here. Doesn't really matter either way the choices of classes, and we're gonna see it once again. Warrior versus the Rogue here, the Miracle Rogue. Azure Drake, an excellent card to keep in the beginning of your hand, just be able to pressure early on, and get the draw. But he's not on the coin, so I guess he'll be sad if he picks up Gadgetzin. Or if he even gets Gadgetzin, that you're still kind of subject to this kind of scenario. But the good news is you are more minion-centric with some of those earlier cards like Shade and Violet Teacher.
Absolutely. It's interesting he's still keeping Azure Drake when he has cards like Shade and Violet Teacher in his deck. I think I still would too, but it's pretty unlucky for Freshca to not, open on those minions that he really wants to see early rather than late. I mean, yeah, just didn't really get to play Shade and Extramus until the very last turn of the game last time. I like the Shade Cold Blood synergy though. Seems strong.
Yeah.
From Kaldi's
It's
side,
like you
would
get the
have
conceal
double Shade?
preemptively.
Yeah, definitely. Freshca still trying to bluff some 2-drops and stuff. Weapon, pass back.
Does the bluffing ever truly affect you as a player?
No.
Or do you just kind of not pay attention to that stuff?
I do pay attention to it, but I pretty much always call it for what it is because nobody's gonna put a card like Loot Hoarder in their deck on purpose. So it's just like there's literally no card it could be. You know, like even if you had Loot Hoarder in your deck, you'd probably weapon up turn 2 against Warrior.
Well, there's no rational plays, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. When there's no rational plays, then you know they're bluffing, and then you basically don't look into their hand for the rest of the match. You don't try to glean information from it ever again once you know that it's like in their range to bluff. Very few players do it in tournaments though, mostly because it's half the time your opponent's not paying attention anyway. Half the time they misread it, even if they are. So.
Yeah, that's true. A little bit too meta there. All right, Freshca curving out pretty nicely. He's getting the 3 and 4 drops.
Violet Teacher, the dream, right here. That was a great draw. I mean, I said he wanted those shades and the Violet Teachers early, and he ended up drawing them perfectly on time in the right order. So now the deck looks a lot stronger.
And the previous game too, he drew them late game, and he still had this opportunity to maybe close it out, or he did have the opportunity to close it out without them. Even though he did end up relying it later in the stages of the game. Kaldi's under some pretty reasonable pressure here.
Yeah, I think you have to Taskmaster and Armor. Like, I want to say that's better than executing. Okay. Execute could let you shield block this turn just to get a card deeper. But yeah, you probably need that execute to deal with Violet Teacher. So I don't mind this play. SI Agent. Really?
SIS implies he wants to go for a cold blood play, but I feel like the Azure Drake feels way too tempting, and he picks up Backstab, another card to activate the Violet Teacher. This is starting to get out of hand.
Yeah, he's not respecting Brawl at all, which is gonna work out for him because Kaldi doesn't have it here.
Here we go.
This deck's kind of cool, man. I gotta admit.
Yeah, it is cool. Like when you draw stuff in the right order, if you draw the Shade and the Violet Teacher on curve, the deck is insane.
Well, it's the same thought that I have with like whenever I watch Bloodlust Shaman. I'm like, how can this deck ever lose? And then it never gets a board. I'm like, oh, okay, that's how. Yeah.
It certainly never runs out of cards, though. You know, against a deck like Warrior, it's going to give you time. It's definitely going to perform just fine.
Well, even as Gadget and Auctioneer.
Yeah, let's see. I really don't like playing that here. I would just be scared of Brawl. Like, you're so far ahead anyway.
Yeah, is
I
there
guess
a
if
real
he doesn't
need
play
to?
it, he's not doing anything, though. Alright, that's fair. I guess he could play. And he's got Sprint in his deck, another Gadgets in. You're probably not going to run out of cards if you run this out there.
Yeah, do offer a draw, plus you can kill off the Violet Teacher and see what you draw. But it seems like he's going to favor for, again, more of the board-centric play.
This is really aggressive. Like, why even save the Auctioneer if you're going to use all your spells? I don't understand. I would just played the... I mean, it doesn't matter. He's just too far ahead, and Kaldi doesn't have a Brawl. So, luckily for Kaldi, though, even though none of his decks are favored against this rogue, he won't have to play against it again because after, you know, this is Freshca's second time playing it, and with this rule set, he won't be able to pick it again, so...
Yeah, he can. He can play it 3 times, but not
right. My
more than
mistake.
3 times. All right, the 2 times was for the round of 64 Swiss, but
Oh, okay.
you are correct
Wonder if he
in
should've played
almost every other. All right, well, he only has one course of action, which is survive, kill out the 5-1, and toss it back over.
I might have killed Azure Drake instead, but doesn't really matter, I guess.
Well,
Blade
I
play.
guess he still has an opportunity to draw, and he even clears a 4-2. He has sprint. Look at that. Deck lines up almost perfectly.
Everything in the right order. Yeah, this is a
Wow.
really good game for Freshca.
Man, this is a movie ending if I've ever seen one for Hearthstone. Peter Jackson directed this one. Well, actually, Freshca and Peter Jackson kind of have this connection, I think.
Well played.
I think so. All right, game's gonna end. Kaldi can't do anything. He doesn't get brawl, and there's no opportunity to potentially survive, so he's gonna pass it over. And looks like Freshca's gonna even up the series. Well done.
Yeah.
This rogue deck is pretty cool. Is making by spreading it out. Game 5 is prepared, so let's jump into the mulligans. See if they can continue it and figure out more of this.
Like I said.
So you're saying rogue again? Oh, look at that. Zoo mirrors is the last time Kaldi can play this, by the way. And once again, Kaldi is going to be on the coin. And he gets Soulfire even to boot. Wow, this opening hand.
Why would you mulligan that as the best card in the mirror? Oh no.
Oof.
Yeah, that's not good. That's how you snowball with that card. It puts you ahead on board on turn 3 guaranteed.
Yeah, coin and Soulfire just feels like you just jump up 3 minions ahead of your opponent.
I just feel like people need to swallow. People need to swallow their pride more often and just jam a bunch of Zoo mirrors on ladder. It's not for as long as the deck's been around. I feel like it's still a matchup that's easy to mess up. Right? Maybe I'm wrong.
Freshca not happy about that, by the way. He saw an Undertaker start, but,
yeah, but
he
unfortunately
was able to smack it down.
Kaldi misplayed twice. He mulliganed the Soulfire, and then he didn't coin the Juggler. If he coined Juggler, the worst thing that could have happened is a 1-for-1. Even though Freshca would be trading up on mana, he would need the buff, which he had in this case, but he could have, like, set up a huge Undertaker that was harder to interact with later, I think. This is okay,
yeah, I think
though.
the only way
you can still play Defender on curve, which is so strong if you can turn 4 Defender.
Ooh, well, how about this? You have an opportunity to pop the egg as Kaldi, and you're able to even drop an Echoing Ooze or a Knife Juggler with it.
Yeah, you definitely got to do this. It's looking really good for Kaldi now. Okay, so Freshca's hand at this point is very clunky. I don't like that play. Yeah, you have to go Golem Flame Imp, but it feels really over to me already. I mean, that's a turn 4 Nerubian. Like, what can you do at this point? He did position.
You need to get Soulfire or something here to pull back.
Yeah, he should have put the Nerubian egg in the middle and the Harvest Golem on the side, because you're definitely going to defender the Nerubian egg, so you can. That'll give you more options on how to defend her. But not a huge mistake, I guess. It probably won't punish him, because he's probably just not going to have creatures.
It seems inconsequential because most likely everything but the Nerubian egg can go down here this turn.
Yeah, you run the Abusive into the Flame Imp, and then you go Nerubian Egg, or Nerubian into the Harvest Golem, and then Juggler Haunted Creeper. He should... I guess I see the logic here, but I still don't like it. I would still trade the 2-1 first. He's thinking that even if it juggles Flame Imp, he can trade a 1-2 into it. Loses the 50-50 on a good hit. Not a big deal. He's still, like, just way too far ahead to lose at this point, unless Freshca plays Hellfire.
No, he plays Lotheb, though.
Yeah, Lotheb, Void Terror. It's, I'm trying to think of a way that Freshca could win this game at this point, and I'm just not seeing it. I mean, Defender of Argus is the kind of card that can catch you up, but you're facing, like, 9 power on board, or 8 power on board. No, 9. That's just absurd. I mean, it's turn 5. Like, he's going to take around 10 damage next turn, and yeah, I mean, at that point, the game is just mostly over, because even if he draws the cards he needs to stabilize the board, Kaldi's going to have such a lead on life totals that he'll just be going face while Freshca attacks creatures. And you know, it's not like both. It's not like either of these decks will ever run out of cards because of hero power. So eventually, you're just
Oh
gonna.
yeah, I totally identify. Kaldi's kind of can still put on a lot of pressure too, and depends on how these juggles pan out. It could be really nice. Depends on how he is. Oh, he's gonna go for the guaranteed kill on the Rubian.
You should trade
Before.
the. Oh, this is awkward actually.
I like getting the juggles on the haunted creepers as well to see what you get.
Shouldn't he
Ooh.
have buffed the haunted? Yeah, the haunted creeper, so you trade off and then
Yeah.
get more juggles. Okay, so now you run haunted creeper into the Rubian. Oh my god!
Ah.
And he missed an
wait,
attack.
missed damage. Okay, a little pretty sloppy here from Kaldi. I think he was just indecisive, and in the end, just ended the turn very quickly. Didn't think about his plays, and well, we saw in the previous game where the 1 or 2 damage really does end up adding a pretty significant impact if Freshca is able to get like a 2-card combination of Soulfire and Doomguard to
Glad we're-
climb back into this game.
Yeah, I'm glad we're not using caster cams for this particular tournament because I have a nice big red spot in my forehead from the amount of face palming in this match. It's I don't know. People need to step up their zoo game. That's what I feel like. It's a deck you just haven't seen in tournaments for a long time because of Hunter. But yeah, both of these players could have played a lot better, I think, this game. It's pretty over though, from Kaldi's perspective. If you don't play a card like Hellfire or Shadow Flame, there's just no way to catch up at this point.
Yeah, you're too far behind on board, and he's not drawing to the cards he needs. Well, I don't think this changes much. Because the trades are just too powerful, and your opponent keeps leveraging what's on the board. And like you said, you're really far ahead on life to the point where you can't life tap anymore without reasonably putting yourself within lethal range. So Freshca is super far behind. He's thinking about what to silence, which the difference is about the same.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a good juggle. I'm cheering for a Doomguard top deck so we can get to the next game quickly. We'll see
How
though.
about Soulfire?
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a way to catch up here. I'm just not. I think the way you catch up here was not playing Zombie Chow and then you wipe that into Doomguard.
Wow. Well, he got the exact combination, but has to wait till the next turn. But at least he has a 5 damage charger to seal the game anyways. Float 4 mana, still be able to get full of heart. And that's kind of what the important thing of starting off quickly.
Yep. Alright. Well, that game just kind of snowballed out of control. That's usually how the Zoo matchup goes, is one player kind of snowballs it.
All right, let's go to game 6 and see if Kaldi and Freshca can even up or Kaldi will close it out. You know, as much as you were worried about maybe a 4-0 blowout with random picks, it seems like a series has still been back and forth here. Paladin it is into Shaman. I like this choice a lot. The AoE clears from the Paladin, great. The hero power stack up pretty nicely. And you are very good at defensive to put yourself out of range of Shaman Burst. But of course, there are ways to leverage that. And one of them, if you flood the board with like Violet Teachers, I guess that's another opportunity here.
Yeah, I would keep the equality, even though you're probably not going to play it till like turn 8. Just to make sure that it's not in the bottom 5 cards of the deck. Because that happens just way too often as Paladin. It's like a card you need in a lot of cases to win, so... it's a decent hand from the Shaman. If Freshca doesn't see a True Silver Champion, that Mana Tide's gonna trade for Owl, I guess.
Yeah, Mana Tide's sort of pretty nasty in the control matchups if you can get it off. Now, Kaldi's playing a very token-centric deck with the Haunted Creepers and the Death Rattle as well as Violet Teacher.
Why did he
but
play
no sign
Rubian
of a
Egg?
finisher without Bloodlust.
Why did he play Rubian Egg on turn 2 against the deck with Paladin Hero Power instead of Haunted Creeper? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
He had Rock Biter, so probably wants to activate it somehow.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Freshca doesn't have Owl anymore. Maybe just throw down Mana Tide here, get some cards going.
I think he's testing for True Silver Champion now, like you mentioned before.
Definitely. You want to be really conservative with your consecrations as the Paladin player here, because it's definitely your most important card against Shaman. Shaman's going to try to win by flooding the board, getting board control, and then using removal to deal with your bigger threats, like Sludge Belcher, Tyrion, that kind of stuff. I'm sure Freshca's going to be very careful not to get his Tyrion hexed, though. But yeah, Consecration is the way that you catch up once Shaman starts to snowball against you.
Oh, Healing Totem pretty nice to get himself some good ability to match up against Paladin Hero Power. Let's see. Kaldi really thinking about which trade he should take here.
Yeah, it's a tough call. You want to kill a 1/1 because it's free value, but you also want to kill Ironbeak Owl so that your Healing Totem stays alive. I think he made the right call there, though, in trading with the Owl. That Healing Totem's gonna... It has the potential to get a lot of value here.
I think when you're holding cards like the Feral Spirits and whatever cards that you want to get a lot of value off of and doesn't just get immediately punished, I think Healing Totem has a lot of value in protecting it.
Yeah. He's definitely going to want to play Azure Drake in the same turn that he Lightning Bolts. I'm not sure why he's taking damage with his face in this case instead of Rock Fighter and Creature, but to each his own. So Consecration is just going to deal with the board here at this point. I mean, I like his decision to hold off on playing Azure Drake until the same turn that he can Lightning Bolt, but this was not executed as well as it could have been.
Oh boy, Consecration clear.
Yeah, like it's a matchup that
deal with that
probably favors Paladin to begin with, but yeah, Kaldi really needed to never slip up, I think, in order to really have a good shot at it. Like, in this case, he has to play Fire Elemental, and then he's going to get Eldar Peacekeeper. Maybe he can draw an Earthshock, and Earthshock his own Fire Elemental, and do something with that, I don't know.
There's a lot of death rattles now. The mid-range creatures like Sylvanas and Cairn could be in the Paladin deck. I think you need to save it for that, because you're using Hex on Tyrion.
This is an extremely low curve Shaman deck. This is like a Shaman deck I would play if I was trying to beat Hunter. I mean, he has no Alakir, no cards that cost more than Fire Elemental.
Yeah. So I was kind of surprised he doesn't have just like a... He's only playing one Lightning Bolt too. Wow, he's very minion-centric. One Lightning Storm, one Lightning Bolt, no Alakir. Double Creeper and double Egg, so... Yeah, it's a very board flood, and that's what kind of surprised me. He didn't have something like Bloodlust as a potential finisher.
Yeah. So you definitely just Drake Bolt, right? Take out the...
Yeah,
you
you
don't
had 6 mana, but you have 5, so that's unfortunate.
Oh man. It's that's a tough turn, I guess.
Yeah, the playing the Azure Drake simply here still opens you up to the possibility of True Silver, and then your board completely disappears. But I don't feel like there's an alternative play.
Yeah, I mean it's either like play Drake or play Violet Teacher. I like his decision there. Just play Drake. It's probably the best option he has. Freshca is gonna hold on to his second Consecration. I'm not gonna play that unless he absolutely has to.
Yeah, especially in tandem with Equality. He's got this as a reset button. This is Paladin's trump card whenever anything gets too hairy, which it might, depending on how Kaldi chooses to use this. He can go for what looks like to be a clear here.
Yeah, so Shaman only has one Lightning Storm in this particular list. It's like a very, very fast deck. If this game drags on, eventually the Paladin is just going to outcard the Shaman deck, I feel like. But we'll see. It's Kaldi's managed to draw a lot of his late game threats. You know, double Fire Elemental, one of his Azure Drake. He's got a Violet Teacher, so...
Yeah, but the Paladin's just under no threat whatsoever. He's at 30 health still. And every single time it seems like Kaldi's barely managing clears. Like he said, the Shaman deck is excellent at pushing out a lot of tempo through these cheap spells and cheap cards. But you do burn through the hand very quickly. It's kind of amazing that Kaldi still has a hand size because he's been able to draw these late game cards.
Yeah,
I think soon he's going to pick up cards where he's just burning through, won't have anything else.
I would probably play Violet Teacher. And, okay. I see, I don't feel too bad hexing the Sludge Belcher, but this works too. is a case where taking the damage from Sludge Belcher does make sense. Wants to keep Spell Power Totem alive. His life total is not a huge deal in this matchup.
Just weakening Alex Strasser, right? Don't worry. He's on it.
Double Iron Beak Owl Paladin. That's kind of cool. I mean, double Humility, double Eldor, double Iron Beak Owl is interesting. Those cards don't have great synergy, but I mean, Owl is a great card, so I suppose it's fine.
Yeah, the silence gives you a lot of flexibility too. Not just to take care of the death battles, but because you silence your own equality minions to have something relevant on the board still. Not to be completely flapped out by the 1 health on your own creature. And we've seen actually big plays in the past couple of days involving those kinds of thought processes and lines. So it's actually kind of unique to have the silences and the paladin as a core element for your board control deck. It's cool.
Yeah, Spellbreaker is not uncommon. Double Owl is cool. It's like much faster, less of less valuable as a body, obviously. I like his paladin deck though. Seems strong.
You even squeezed the
excited to see it next
BGH in there. Wow.
Yeah, double.
It really
Humility.
seems like his deck cut out a lot of those 4 drops that you see, whether it is Senjin or Defender or something there. It seems like he only has Consecration and True Silver in those slots.
Paladin's actually down to 3 cards already. That's interesting. That Iron Beak Owl is just kind of a non-factor. But
Instruction begins.
we'll see if... I mean, I don't know. If the Paladin never sees any of its late game, never sees Nixia, never sees Lay on Hands. I mean, granted, that's unlikely. Oh, there's Lay on Hands. That'll be game.
Never sees late game as Tyrion has Lay on Hands.
Yeah, Tyrion, like, he has the Hex for Tyrion, so Tyrion's not a huge deal. The Lay on Hands is no way to interact with that. It's just guaranteed value against you. Freshca's a bit scared
Tyrion,
of lightning.
He's got Ysera. He's got Onyxia too. Those are all targets you'd draw on a Hex. They only have 2 of them in your deck.
Yeah, this game is not looking great for Shaman, but I don't know. Maybe Freshca really bricks on draws.
Yeah.
Gonna go ahead.
Wisely using Earthshock because he needs to keep Hex for the Tyrion. You don't want an Earthshock Tyrion because there's still a 6/6 body there that's live.
Definitely. I guess you attack the face for 4 with the Azure Drake rather than killing the 1/1. Oh, he's gonna have to kill 1/1.
I think the board matters too much. The 4 damage to a paladin is very inconsequential considering, like Guardian Kings might just come out this turn, and your damage was useless.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Put your faith in the light.
All right, so beyond this Hex, what else does Shaman have? There is continuity with Freshca's hand. With Lay on Hands, he can just play that and draw.
Yeah.
All right.
It's got a Defender Vargas and a Dream. That's pretty much it. I mean, you can
Build the nation of America.
Yeah, exactly. Do you trade the Harvest Golem off? Would you rather trade the Healing Totem after Defendering it? I think, yeah, I like trading and then just play Defender on Chow and Healing Totem. Although maybe Healing and Taunt, I guess. Yeah, it's a little bit more vulnerable to True Silver Champion, but better if he doesn't have True Silver Champion, so...
Well, he hasn't shown that he's had it for a while now. He's had multiple occasions to use it. Full clear opportunity for Freshca, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, Kaldi's out of cards, I would do it.
Yeah, and he's already used Manatide Totem. There's not many cards left for him to get at the moment, short of Azure Drake, to pull him back somewhat even.
Yeah, this is I mean, honestly, I don't think it matters too much. I mean, it's understandable if the Paladin wants to hold on to his equality combo. It's important to have access to that clear, but yeah, it's really not going to get much better than this. I would even play the Kodo. Every turn you wait on playing Kodo, you're forfeiting a 3 damage attack. So, like, if he hero powers here, he's sacrificing a Rockbiter to have, like, a Battle Cry. Yeah, I think it's better to play Kodo.
Yeah. I don't think you're waiting to snipe things like an Unbound Elemental, which isn't even popular anymore. So I think it's just warranted that you want to. Plus, look, it's actually a liability if you waited on it.
Yeah. All right.
Oof.
That's
Missed a BM opportunity. Could have healed his opponent's totems.
he could have.
Reporting for duty.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And I didn't even see
First
that one.
display I've seen.
Yeah, right. I usually
Yeah.
pride myself on my BM skills, but
Oh man, Kaldi can't do it, and the series is tied. But that's kind of what Paladin games are. They're the grinder kind of games. You're pushing your opponent out of the game slowly, and round 6 of Swiss. So let's jump into the game and see what Kaldi and Freshca have selected. Reynad has suggested the Rogue or the Paladin is very good, effective, and Kaldi's gonna pick Warrior into Paladin, which I feel like is one of Paladin's best matchups.
yeah, it really depends on
Very
how it's
difficult.
built. But yeah, I agree with you. Like Kaldi's warrior deck is pretty anti-aggro. I mean, double Senjin, double unstable Ghoul. It's very fast. It can interact early with decks like Zoo. But again, in a control matchup, it's gonna struggle a bit more, I think. That double Stampeding Kodo is one of the reasons I think that Freshca is so favored. Card is fantastic against Warrior. Kills off a lot of the important cards like Armorsmith, Acolyte of Pain. Sludge Belcher
Yeah,
tokens.
and he's removed some of that mid game for tech cards, which could impact the matchup dramatically too, like the second Humility to eliminate another threat, or an Ironbeak Owl, number 2, to take care of not only Karen but also Sylvanas. So there's a lot of opportunities for Freshca to answer whatever Warrior puts out. If Kaldi can get pretty good draws off his Acolyte, which I don't think will considering Freshca's hand, but say Freshca allows him to, there is opportunities for Warrior to control the mid game with a lot of board presence and then baiting out a quality early so then Paladin's uncomfortable for the rest of the game.
It's worth noting that Kaldi drew Gorehowl, Sylvanas, into Ysera all in a row, which are like 3 of his best cards. So I actually think, given what the hands look like right now, the Warrior deck actually looks in a pretty good spot. Which is definitely not what we'd expect most of the time in this matchup. I think Kaldi's definitely in it in this case. Although that
Yeah.
Kodo is going to put in some work next turn.
Yeah, especially considering Kaldi has to kind of go up against the true silver champion. He can make it exempt to the Kodo with the cool Taskmaster. But then he doesn't really have the coin for next turn, which looks like at the moment he only has 1 turn 5 play if he passes this at the moment.
It's really tempting to like coin the Cruel Taskmaster so you don't just get put in a world of Kodo this turn, but I don't know. Like, you really need to save that coin. If you use it now, you won't have a play for next turn unless you draw one. Brutal. Kodo denies the
this
draw.
Kodo. Dang. A lot of times I like to draw parallels to Acolyte of Pain getting 1 shot to a 3-mana Loot Hoarder. But in this case, it was a 3-mana nothing. Gosh. 3-mana Shield Bearer, that's what it was.
Just brutal. Lotheb's going to prevent any coin shenanigans. No attack. Man, Kaldi really wants to Gorehowl, but that Lotheb's going to stop him because he can't coin. Interesting. So maybe I guess you just play Sylvanas? Or no, you... Oh, this is sick. You just Taskmaster, I think. Isn't that the best play? Taskmaster your own creature, kill off his Kodo, and then he can't really run Lotheb into that, so it'll force a Consecration. Your hand is pretty clunky, though, so you definitely want to play Sylvanas this turn.
Yeah, next turn you want to drop Gorehowl, and you have a pretty good opportunity to protect it, but now the Ironbeak Owl comes out. I think if you knew the hand of Freshca, I think he would have definitely gone for the Cool Taskmaster play, so it's right in our eyes, but it's not so obvious for Kaldi.
I think the worst thing that could have happened is Consecration, which, in this case, Freshca had it. Yeah, Sylvanas is not bad, though.
He's got him twice covered here. Double Ironbeak, double Consecrate, double quality. I think Freshca is well tooled to handle any kind of board at him.
When you're playing a control deck, it doesn't really matter, like even if it's a control mirror or against aggro, you don't really want to draw doubles of all of your cards because you tend to see like control decks have more single copies of cards than aggro. And the reason for that is the games go longer. So when the games go longer, you draw more cards. You want to have more one-ofs in your hand because it just gives you more options, you know? The second equality isn't giving him any more choices than the first equality for this turn, so, you know, he'd rather have that be like a creature, just like any other card that gives him another choice. So those all the two ofs there are gonna make his plays a little bit less flexible in the mid game, but yeah, this matchup just favors Paladin so much that it's probably not gonna matter too much.
Yeah, it's well said, well said. And I think Gorehowl is like what you said, the win condition that's often set by the warrior, and it's really important in matchups like Shaman, and for that reason too, it's important against Paladin. I don't think Freshca runs Harrison Jones in his deck though. He certainly had to cut something like that for the kind of deck that he brought here.
Yeah, no one's actually
Yeah.
playing Harris. It's kind of interesting. In any of the decks. There's a card you see in Warrior, I think, more than any other class.
Yeah, I know that ECOP really likes running his Paladin, and as a result, the rest of Cloud9 ends up using Harrison Jones, and then even Savitz. So there are Paladins using it, but surely Freshca had to cut something for like Anixia and then double Humility, double Iron Beak Owl.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of Anixia, though, because it's not Ragnaros. So that's... I mean, it's a very consistent card. Like, you know what you're getting when you play an Anixia.
Yeah, 17 out of 17 value, not bad.
Good out of...
Or 14, excuse me. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's good against Ragnaros, too. Which is kind of cool. Well, sometimes.
It could be. Depends who you're playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Now this is an opportunity for Kaldi to pretty commandingly seize the board.
Yeah, you just run your face into Lotheb. I mean, it's a lot of damage, but who cares? It's a double Iron Beak Owl, double Humility Paladin deck. Like, it's not going to punish you for taking damage.
And you know your opponent's deck list too. So this is where you use your opponent's information against them, where you can get away with a lot more. That normally you have to be a little more cautious. Not that Paladin is a bursty deck, but if you use this example and juxtapose it against other matchups where you know you can get away because they're not running, like Leroy, for example. If you, without that knowledge, usually you're a little bit more cautious about your health against Rogue.
It's so interesting that they can play any deck 3 times, even if it loses in a best of 7. So if you have a deck that your opponent can't beat, like, even if they beat it 1 game and they get lucky, you're going to get like 2 wins out of it, which is half the wins you need to win the series. You could theoretically, like, yeah, you don't even need a 3rd deck for the series. That's so interesting.
Assuming you win every single time, but if it goes to the 7th game, you might need the 3rd deck.
You don't even need
Originally,
to win
I thought it was going to be 4 decks and 2 play, like the same way they did in round of 64.
Yeah.
But if you want to expand it, you'd play a 4th deck. But it seems like they wanted to try to get more like expertise in. You know, you really know your 3 decks.
That's interesting. So he wants to save the 5th charge on Gorehowl, which is a good play because it's going to allow him to kill cards like Sludge Belcher, Stampeding Kodo. 5 health is very common right now. He does have the Taskmaster in hand, so I wouldn't fault him for attacking Iron Beak Owl that turn, though. I don't think he's played an Unstable Ghoul yet. That could definitely help him. Oof. Clear out the board.
Another weapon isn't the most helpful right now.
Yeah, not too bad. I think you just attack Belcher, go ahead and, you know, shield block, armor, Taskmaster, Laughing Sister. And then your opponent has pretty much no board. You're healthy on your life total. You have a Laughing Sister and a... Okay, he's going to choose to use the Black Knight rather than save it for a Tyrion. I suppose that's fine.
I think he needs something pretty strong on board while swinging it. But I think you could have accomplished the same thing. Like, you're only taking 2 more damage by using Gorehowl. And are you really afraid of 2 more damage for a Paladin? Maybe he is, but I like saving Tyrion because now your answer to a Tyrion becomes a little more complicated.
Yeah. This does put him further ahead on board this turn, though. Maybe that ends
Yeah,
up paying
that's
off in the long run. Oh,
Well, this is interesting. Kill off your opponent's board. He just used his best way to one-shot the Tyrion, unless he has the ability to pop with Execute or Shield Slam, which, you know, even then Execute's really clunky because you don't have the ability to get through it. You need 2 things to hit Tyrion for that.
yeah. So, okay, Faceless helps
Wow.
quite a bit, actually.
That's actually really good.
I think you attack face and then play Dustbite. So otherwise you're, I guess. You're like committing to never playing a weapon again if you're not playing Dustbite this turn.
I suppose. I guess this is just a Light's Justice now. It's just like a 1/4, not a 4/1.
Yeah, exactly. Light's Justice
there
is
you go.
underrated, though. I like that card.
Hell yeah, Captain Greenskin. Put it in your mid-range Pally deck and put it on Tempo Storm's website. There you go.
Let's see.
All right, well, this is what he's waited for. The Faces brings him back. And unfortunately, he can't have an easy way of removal, though. Wow, this is awkward. Oh man, that
Yeah.
totally sucks. Gosh.
If only there were
Light's
some sort
Justice.
of... This is so brutal.
Oh man.
If only there was some sort of green swamp dwelling Disney character that could describe what this Tyrion is going to do to Kaldi. This is just so gross. Oh man, Anixia.
Wow. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Easy removal. Play Anixia.
Needs to draw exactly
No, I don't-
Brawl.
I don't even know what Anixia's battle cry is like in terms of what she says, because I had never even played her before. I'm pretty sure she just makes a bunch of whelps scream. What does she say when you attack with her? I don't know. I'm giving Amaz all his Jeoparino questions next round.
I don't know if anyone knows, man. I feel like when that card comes down, people just push the concede button.
Not even the voice actor who did Anixia knows. It's like, I didn't know. Just did like a 500 of those in one day. Just kind of forgot. Well, looks like Howley's dead. Let's see a way
You
for him
dare
to
challenge the daughter of Deathwing. That's what.
Oh, you can Death Bite execute. Oh, that's cool. But wow, use 3 weapons this turn. What the hell?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh,
Got him.
desperate times calls for desperate measures.
Oh man, he had such a good hand too, but he didn't like. Honestly, Kaldi misplayed this game. He used his Black Knight when he had no other answer to Tyrion, and he ended up losing because of it. I think. If he ended up making the play where he just gore howls the Sludge Belcher instead, I honestly think Kaldi would have won this game. Well, not necessarily would have won. It would have gone on for a long time because of this land hand.
Would've been-
But yeah, he would have been. In
I know
it.
what you mean. Much more relevant than top decking Unstable Ghoul. Not even top decking, it's just drawing. Well, it looks like his tournament run ends here, Raynet. Unless there's one other card, but we see his deck list here. I was thinking, unless he has Deathwing or something dramatic like that. But I don't know if he watches all your videos.
Oh. Well played by Freshca. I definitely like his decks for this kind of format. I feel like they're very, very strong. And, yeah. Cool set to watch in this kind of new format that Prismata Cup's trying out.
Reporting for duty.
All right. Well, also props to Kaldi. It goes without saying that getting this far in the tournament is still very impressive. Just look at the field of 64. You have the best
Exactly.
players in the world from ladder, from tournaments, from just results, and just getting to the top 12 is an accomplishment in itself. So congrats to Kaldi for getting here, but his tournament will